Okay, so I'm so excited today that you come to listen to Understanding the Stomach Acidity Myths. This is a vitally important thing for you guys to understand, because ultimately, if we can understand this, we are actually dealing with one of the major root causes of chronic diseases that we're seeing across the country. So let's learn a little bit about this. The three myths we're going to bust tonight, and I hope that after you've listened to this conversation, you're actually going to go, okay, this is something really interesting. This is something that's going to change my life. So let's look at the three myths we're going to bust. The number one is acid reflux means we have too much acidity. Many of you, oh, I've got so much acid reflux, I must have like a ton of acid. That's a common misconception, and tonight I want to break that myth. The next thing is I eat a really good diet. I'm eating plenty of proteins. I must be getting enough amino acids. I don't need to look at supplementing with that. Everything's hunky-dory. The final one that we're going to look at is low stomach acidity is just genetics. I'm unlucky. I didn't get this. There's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to have low acidity for the rest of my life. So let's start off with myth number one. Acid reflux means we have too much acidity. This is actually one of the most misunderstood principles. And I want to teach this to you, but in order for me to teach it for you, you need to understand a little bit about how the body actually works. So let's jump in there and see what it actually is going on there. Now, the number one thing for you to realize is that there is something called the esophageal sphincter. Big words, what does it actually mean? The esophageal sphincter is where the esophagus meets the stomach. There's actually a little valve there. And think of it like your esophagus is a hallway, and at the bottom is this door. Now, this door is your sphincter, this esophageal sphincter, but it's only a one-way valve. As you eat food, it lets the food in. It opens and it lets the food in. And then once that food's gone through, it closes and it stays closed for the rest of the time. This keeps the acid out of the esophagus, and it actually keeps the acid in the stomach. So how is this now related to acid reflux? So what actually happens is poor stomach acidity actually causes the door, that sphincter, to malfunction. When you have sufficient stomach acidity, your super healthy, your stomach's perfect, it's sitting at a pH range of about 1 to 2, which is super acidic. That acidity gives the sphincter the close tight signal, and it stays super, super tight. So this acid stays where it belongs, which is in the stomach and not in the sphincter. What happens when you get poor stomach acidity? So now you're tending away from the 1 to 2 and you're going maybe towards the 3, 4s on the pH scale. This means that there's not enough stomach acidity, and the sphincter is getting this weak signal. So what happens is that door, that sphincter, starts to get like, oh, am I open? Am I closed? What am I doing? So it stays loose and floppy. And whatever acid you do have now sloshes up into your esophagus, and that's what gives you that acid reflux burn. It's that the lining of the esophagus is actually getting burnt. So what would you do in that situation? Most of you are going to run off and going to go and get an antacid, and the antacid is going to go and you're going to take it and, oh, it gives me such relief. Well, it actually doesn't give you relief. All it does is it goes and it treats that little area, it cools off that area in the esophagus that's been burnt. But at the same time, it makes your stomach acidity weaker. So what happens is in the next couple of months, you're now taking an antacid because you're getting this reflux every time you eat, and it's burning and it's painful. And it's like, this is just not going away. So what do? You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, hey, I'm going to put you on a PPI, a proton pump inhibitor, which in layman's terms really means that I'm going to reduce the amount of stomach acidity your stomach actually produces because you've got too much and it's now causing this burn. What a PPI actually does is it makes the door, or that sphincter, even weaker. So what you're actually doing is you're treating the symptom, the acid, while making the root cause worse. So that door is now open more and more. So you actually become more dependent on the medication that's actually perpetuating the problem. So you're going to start to go towards neutral, that's pH of 7, and you're going to say, okay, well, now I don't have any pain. Well, that's actually not good. And I'm going to go into a little bit detail as to why having a very neutral stomach acidity is very, very bad for you. So let's look at myth number 2, which is where we're going into I eat enough protein, I'm getting enough amino acids, I don't have to worry about this, I don't need to supplement with this is just fine. So let me tell you about the reality. The reality is that your stomach is like a demolition site. The stomach acidity, or HCl, is the wrecking ball. And this, what happens is, so I want you to imagine that you've eaten a big meal and you got all this protein in the body. So imagine it as like a string of pearls. So you got a string of pearls of like 100. So each pearl is an amino acid. Amino acids make up protein. And what happens is that that string of pearls goes into the body, and the stomach acidity goes in and it breaks it up into more manageable bits. So maybe 10 little pearls of amino acids. So you got 100, the stomach acidity goes in, it breaks them into more manageable bits of 10. You then get the enzyme pepsin, which you need to be having in the system, and that cuts them into even more smaller manageable bits. So imagine that bit of 10 is now down into little bits of 2 amino acids. That then leaves the stomach, goes into the small intestines. Small intestines, I know what to do with this. I've had years of practice. I know exactly, I'm evolved to do this. And it takes the micronutrients that it needs, that passes that into the large intestine, where you've got the bacteria that are there, the good bacteria that are there, and they are going to do their thing, taking the amino acid and pushing it over into the blood, and the body's going to survive on it. So now what happens when your stomach acidity is poor? Well, you're going to eat the meat, eat the protein, and it's not going to break down because you don't have enough stomach acidity. So you've now got big, clunky chunks of protein that when it goes down into the small intestine's going, I don't know what to do with this. I've never seen this before. It's a big mess. And then it goes into the into the large intestine, and they're going, well, I can't move this across. It's not small enough. I can't move it into the blood. So in actuality, what's happening is you're starving yourself, even though you may be eating enough. So real world consequences of this, you're eating chicken, beef, your fish, your eggs, but it's not actually being absorbed. So your body can't access the amino acids it desperately needs. Now, you need to understand that amino acids are essential for every single thing in your body. It affects every function in your body. It determines how much energy you've got, how much hormones you've got, muscle, brain, everything. It's vitally important. So if you don't have enough of it, there's going to be a problem. It's also going to get those big chunks that have now moved into the small intestine. It's going to cause bloat. It's going to cause nutrient deficiencies because it can't use that to absorb. And then what happens is the body's going to go, hey, I need to find a source of amino acids. So it's going to go and it's going to start cannibalizing its own muscle tissue for amino acids. So you're going to notice that a lot of people, they think, oh, as they age, that's why they lose muscle. No, it's because the body is actually not getting it, the amino acids that it needs, so it needs to scavenge it from somewhere. So it's going off and it's actually causing muscle wasting. Typically, you're going to feel tired, weak, you can't build muscle, your hair's falling out, your nails are breaking, all these kind of things. So you can have a look at this, a simple test. If you eat a really large protein meal, like heavy steak or something like that, does it feel like a rock after you've eaten it? And, it's because it's sitting there undigested. The body doesn't know what to do with it. I don't have enough amino acids, stomach acidity to actually break it down into the amino acids that I need. So that's something to take into consideration. Next, we need to look at the migration problem. We're going to look at the bacteria in the wrong place, and this is going to come from 2 places. First of all, the stomach is supposed to be a sterile environment for you. So imagine that your stomach is your first line of defense against the outside environment. You eat something and maybe you're not aware of this, but you're always going to have bacteria, viruses, pathogens, whatever's going to live on that. No matter how well you cook it, whatever, it's going to go in. And generally, if you're healthy, it's going to go into the stomach, and that HCl, that stomach acidity, is going to act like a bleach. It's going to go in and it's going to blitz all the bacteria off there, and it's just going to disappear, and you're going to be happy days. That then moves into the small intestine. We've got a few of the few bacteria, and it's going to absorb the nutrients from there. And then it's going to go into the large intestine where there's billions of those. Now, what I want you to understand is the difference between the small intestine and the large intestine is actually all about the pH. In the small intestine, it likes to have a super acidic load of digested food in there. And then once it gets into the large intestine, that needs to be a little bit less acidic. Now, what happens is the stomach acidity is the bouncer. It's keeping the large intestines from bacteria from moving from the large intestine into the small intestine. And it's also helping the bacteria that you've got from your food from now going into your small intestine and colonizing there. It's a very important thing. So what happens is poor stomach acidity leads to that weak door, the esophageal sphincter. The weak acid doesn't break down the protein. The weak acid also allows the bacteria to survive and migrate both into the small intestine from the stomach and up from the large intestine into the small intestine. And that leads to bacteria and undigested food in the small intestine. And this is known as SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Why is this such an issue? Many people suffer with this. Many people are undiagnosed with this. And so here's what happens with SIBO. The bacteria ferments your food before you can absorb it. It creates gas, bloating, pain. It produces toxic byproducts, damages the intestinal lining, and it leads to food sensitivities. We get this so much. All of a sudden I can't eat gluten. I don't understand. Or, you know what, I'm just no longer can tolerate dairy. I don't understand it. It's because of what's going on here. It's literally like throwing a keg party in your small intestine every time you eat, because the bacteria that shouldn't be there is going, hey, this is fabulous. Look at this. It's like a buffet. I'm having a great time. All this beautiful food. It's a beautiful environment for me. I'm just going to thrive here. I don't have to worry about my host because, I'm happy. So we move on to what actually causes poor stomach acidity. We need to know what are the reasons that you have poor stomach acidity. And this is where we break the myth that it isn't just a genetic bad luck. There are actually identifiable causes. So some of the things is chronic stress. So chronic stress, in the traditional American lifestyle, chronic stress is a factor that we have to take into everything because most of us are chronically stressed. So your body can't rest and digest when you're in the fight or flight mode. It has to pick one or the other. So what happens is when you've got chronic stress, I'm in the fight or flight mode. The body says, well, you know what? We need to put all our resources into this, fighting this imaginary monster of stress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suppress the stomach acidity production because we don't really need that. And then we're going to eating with stress, while stressed is a recipe for poor digestion. So chronic stress is something that we need to work on. Then we look at age. As your stomach forgets, that's what happens. Acid production naturally declines after 40. By 60, many people produce 75% less acid than they did at 20, and your stomach literally forgets how to make enough acid. Another thing that we're talking about, which I hope you guys are aware of now, is the PPIs and the antacids. PPIs shut down the acid-producing cells. They cause long-term dependency, and your stomach loses the ability to bounce back. It doesn't know what it's supposed to do anymore. The other thing that's important is poor stomach health. So if you've got ulcers or your stomach's just in really, the organ itself is in really bad condition, you're going to have, it's going to damaged lining is going to not be able to produce the acid, and it's going to become a vicious cycle. So you're going to have damage that's not going to be able to produce the fact that you are not producing the stomach acidity is going to lead to the stomach lining actually getting worse. The next thing which a lot of people have is the H. pylori infection. So this is a bacteria that actually reduces acid production. It needs the acidity to be not very good because that's how it protects itself from being destroyed. And what it does, it's over 50% of the population have it and don't know it. It damages the stomach lining while suppressing the acid, and it creates a perfect environment to thrive. It's like, I know exactly what I need here. I don't need any stomach acidity. I'm going to live here forever, and I'm the king of this little castle. So many of these causes make you feel like you have too much stomach acidity when in actual fact you have too little. So let's have a look at some solutions. Instead of reducing the acid, we need to restore the acid. So a couple of things. First of all, stop suppressing the acid. You need to work with your doctor to wean off PPIs if you're on them, and stop taking the antacid if you're not on a PPI. You need to address the root causes. We need to look at stress. Stress is something that 99% of our clients deal with on a day-to-day basis. We run regular, regular stress workshops. And in these stress workshops, we give you ideas on how to overcome it. We want you to identify, why have you got a specific stress? How can we move you off this? We give you specific supplements that you can try. And it's all based on your specific stress pattern. There are multiple different types of stress patterns, and we need to know which one is yours and what is going to work for you. We also suggest that you test for both SIBO and test for H. pylori. This is not something that you can get rid of in a moment. You have to actually go through a protocol to actually get the stomach not only the stomach ready to get rid of the H. pylori, but the lining has to be perfect. So the actual organ itself needs to be really good. The next thing we can do is support acid production. So some small little things that you can do is add the acid, apple cider vinegar and lemon juice before meals. A lot of people do this. We love to add, we've got a specific concoction that we use, which is apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, ginger juice, and then you can see this product here, which is active aminos X. It comes as a powder. We just put 1 scoop in that and fill up the jug, and we sip throughout the day on that. That helps with the stomach lining getting repaired. It helps with production of stomach acidity. The next thing, which is vitally important, is that all of you should be doing an HCl challenge, which is a stomach acidity challenge. And this needs to be done under guidance. You guys don't know about it. It is something that we need to personalize for you based on how you respond to the actual HCl. So this is something that we can help you. If you're interested in that, just send us a message and we'll definitely reach out and help you with that. At the same time, I want you to understand that if your stomach acidity is really, really bad, you're going to have a basic need for vitamins and minerals. You definitely need to be supplementing with this. You also need to be supplementing with an essential amino acids, which is why we love this active amino X. I highly suggest that for those of you that have seen, we are running a 10-day product challenge of active aminos. And this means that you can just try this product 10 days, see how it affects your body, see how you can get that difference. You should feel more energy. You should feel like, okay, I've got a bit of something that's actually, my body's actually craving. So that's why active amino X. Have a look on our Instagram or Facebook or whatever you want to look there. It's in the community as well. See how it's done. You guys are welcome to take that challenge for sure. Next, we're going to look at supporting the sphincter. So a couple of easy things to do. Don't eat late. So maximum don't eat 3 hours before bed. You can try smaller, more frequent meals initially if you have been on your antacids for a very long time or your PPIs. It would be a great idea. And then the acid will strengthen itself over time if you remove all of the suppressing stuff. And if you start to do the HCl challenge, really important that that you find your maintenance dose so that you're actually taking it and that the stomach is going, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. Is that what I'm supposed to do? Oh, okay, I can produce that. And so that's why we highly, highly suggest that you're going to do that. From a SIBO point of view, this is something a little bit more complicated. It's not something that you can take on right away. Remember that, so as I explained to you how the body works, if you try and get rid of the SIBO without fixing the stomach acidity, you will find that, yes, maybe you get some relief for a little bit, but in a couple of months' time, the SIBO is back and flourishing because you haven't got rid of the root cause, which is that stomach acidity issue. So, yeah, definitely something to consider. So what I wanted to say to you, that the 3 myths that I was busting this week is, it's actually one problem with 3 faces. Your body is designed to be highly acidic. It needs to be protein digesting bacteria controlling. This is a machine that does these things. This is why the body needs to be in perfect working order. When we interfere with that design, whether it's PPIs, chronic stress, or whether you've got untreated infections like H. pylori, you're creating a cascade of problems. One thing is leading to the next. The good news about that is that if you can fix your stomach acidity, then your body knows how to make its own acid again. And then the supporting systems that come through that are then, it's like a domino effect. They're all just going to fall into place so that your health is going to improve one step at a time. So your stomach can definitely heal, but it does take you to take the first step towards restoring your digestive health. I really hope that you've enjoyed listening to this and learning. It's all about educating yourself so that you are not susceptible to the medical system's knowledge or lack of knowledge there are, particularly in the PPI world. We want you guys to have the education to actually say to doctor, hey, I want to wean off my PPI. I want to get my stomach acidity back on track, and I want to be healthy. I hope you've enjoyed this talk. It was really great to speak to you guys, and I'm hoping that you can come to the next one where we'll be talking more about some interesting but healthy subjects.